Welcome to our training module about how to discuss politics in the workplace. If you're joining us, this means that someone in your organization has decided to pick you to train other employees about specific topics in your workplace. This specific module is going to be covering political ideologies and political conflicts conversations within the workplace itself. My name is Kylee Mangum, and I'm here to give you just a brief overview of what will be discussed. This program will cover multiple levels of training, specifically on how upper management deals with upper management, and then how regular employees are regular employees, and then mixing the two. If you haven't already, please seek out something to write with and on, for it's highly recommended that you take notes throughout this as well as do your best to engage, because the best way to inform somebody else is for you to be informed completely yourself, and that will help you in teaching your employees. So let's dig a little deeper just into a general overview of how to deal with politics in the workplace and how to deal with it from a standpoint of teaching others in that organization. So, political conversations in the workplace do not have to be avoided, and make sure your employees know that, but they do need to be done respectfully, and that is the most important thing, respect. It can't cross over into the discriminatory comments and actions, as well as stereotyping and prejudice is going to be a no. You need to try to control that. And just a little fun fact is that according to the American Psychological Association, 1 in every 10 workers have experienced tensions from stress from political discussions in the workplace, especially with everything going on right now with coronavirus and us being locked in and having to put a lot of pressure on our government. A lot of people have different views and strong views, and it's okay, but they need to be respected in the workplace. So, from that study that the APA did, 15% of people said that they felt like work has been more cynical. 13% said they felt that they have been less productive in the workplace. And then finally, 10% of them felt that their quality of work has suffered. These 3 specific areas are things that you can look for as a manager and take the tips from this training session and help solve those issues. So, the next following tidbits are going to be ways to avoid conversations if they make you uncomfortable in the workplace, and how to help employees avoid those situations, as well as ways that you as a manager can handle these conversations, and how you can teach your employees the conversation. So, number 1 on this list for some reasons to avoid political conversations in the workplace are, number 1, legal concerns. This is going to be mentioned and touched on a little bit later, but I just wanted to tell you that the most important thing is to know your rights. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, free speech this, First Amendment that, constitutional right. But even though you do have the freedom to speech, there are certain limitations, especially when it comes to privately owned organizations. A lot of them create and write their own policies, and it is not unconstitutional for them to say that you cannot talk about certain things that make others uncomfortable. Second one is going to be, it's just simply a distraction. Just remind your team members that when they're distracted from the job, they could honestly get in trouble if they're not doing the work that they were hired to do. So, for an example, say that you need an employee to do an assignment. It has a deadline of 5 p.m., but their coworker that they're talking to is trying to have conversations with him or her about what President Trump said on the news last night. The one person that is communicating has strong opinions while your other employee is very uncomfortable, and you can see that look on their face that they're uncomfortable. Therefore, this is a clear distraction from their job. Number 3 is going to be consequential division of team members within the organization. So, obviously, you know that working as a team is important for efficiency and unity within an organization. And when the team isn't working well together cohesively because of tensions, it makes getting work done 10 times harder. And that puts more pressure on you as a manager to get things done and make sure they get done. So when your team members aren't cooperating, there's going to be other steps you're going to have to take in addition to trying to work this out in a civil manner. And then lastly, a reason to avoid a political conversation in the workplace is uncomfortable opposing views. Some people just might say or believe things that make other people uncomfortable and vice versa, but you need to remind your employees that, this is America and they are allowed to say some things regardless of what's in a policy. There's a gray area. So you may be asking yourself, well, Kylee, how do I handle those situations that were just previously mentioned? And I'm going to tell you. So, a way to handle those political conversations in the workplace is to, one, pivot the conversation to some type of work-related topic. So you can say things like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but ... whatever you need to get done for work. Or, I hear you, yes, I understand what you're saying, and then add some type of neutral response that does not invite the coworker to continue the conversation. Hopefully, this will then give them the hint that you're not okay with talking about these types of topics at work. 2, for ways to handle political conversations in the workplace, is to acknowledge tensions as they arise. When you start to feel tensions arise, make sure that you try to end the conversation by pointing it out. So you can say things along the lines of, hey guys, I can tell that this conversation might go south. We have a lot of strong opinions in this conversation. Let's just take a break from this topic for a while and get back to work. Easy way to also revert the topic back to work. Number 3 is to limit your engagement in those specific conversations. So when you have conversations that come up that you don't want to be a part of, you can politely remove yourself from the conversation. One of the ways that we were taught to handle conflict in school was to remove yourself from the conversation or the situation, and that's exactly what you're doing here, just in a more adult way. Number 4 is the most important one, and it's going to be to show respect. Even if you don't agree, you are still in a place of work, and being disrespectful is not tolerated. And it could potentially get you in trouble. Being kind is much more important than making sure people think you're right and saving your job, because your employer, depending on the policies they have, you might have violated one. Therefore, you could be terminated. And then lastly, make sure you honor your own personal boundaries. I don't think that's something people think often, but always stay true to yourself and do your best to make sure that others are aware of what you are comfortable with and what you are not comfortable with. You can use one of the following tactics from above in order to inform them that you do not wish to engage in political conversations at work. Overall, a general good rule of thumb before we speak is to ask ourselves the following questions. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? Let's all take that filter to our political conversations at work and beyond. And I think this is one of the more important things that you should implement in your workplace when you are training these employees. Make these 3 questions a priority. Is it necessary? Is it kind? And is it true? This will keep you virtuous as well as making sure you respect the boundaries of others. If you're someone higher up in the organization, you're going to be training employees. One of the best ways to maintain the atmosphere of the workplace is to make it clear to everyone that all people are entitled to their own opinion, but that the respect for one another is expected at all times, and that is the key term, all times. You, as the boss, need to make sure that your subordinates, employees, coworkers, what have you, understand that respect for their fellow coworkers is always expected. You want to remind everyone that their coworkers may have different views and that being respectful to others is important. Continuing with the scenario that you are a higher level manager, you might already have certain policies in place that limit any type of political discussion that's interfering with employees and work-related responsibilities. Certain topics are protected under the Constitution, under the First Amendment, freedom of speech. You, as a manager, should make sure that you understand the laws before you implement policies as well, because just as bad as employees can violate your policies can violate law. Um, so, overall, the following videos after this one there will be 4. They're gonna go in depth with different examples in order to help you better understand. One of them is going to be from boss to employee. One of them will be employee to employee. One will be high-level executives, etc. Now that you have a small overview, don't forget to watch our other videos as well as take our quiz. Continual education will keep you up to date on the best ways to have political discussions in the workplace without causing harm to others or yourself.